Hi, everybody. This is Dawn Mitchell, and welcome to Dawn of Sports. Another great week now that Jim and I are back from vacation, and we're doubling up. We're getting a power duo of sports and beauty, to be quite honest with you. Best looking couple like in town, I would say. Ron and Shani Johnson. You may know Ron Johnson from our pregame show, Vikings Game Day Live, and all of the stuff he does for Vikings coverage. Former Gopher wide receiver, former NFL wide receiver. His dad has won 2 Super Bowls, but his wife, let me tell you, he outkicked his coverage. Shani is an Olympian and a former Gopher, 2-time USA indoor champ, 2-time USA outdoor champ, you name it. She owned the triple jump, and both Ron and Shani are in the University of Minnesota Athletic Hall of Fame. Unbelievable. The M Club Hall of Fame. What a powerful duo. I can't wait to share with you.
Welcome back to Dawn of Sports, starring Dawn Mitchell of Fox9. I'm Jim Souhan. Our producer's Brandon Morton. Dawn and I are both coming off vacation. I like vacation. You know, there's a time in my life, Dawn, where I was kind of a workaholic and I somewhat feared or didn't trust the idea of vacation. Now I can't get enough of it. Feeling the sun on my skin was a good deal. How was your vacation?
Oh, it was awesome. You know, I'm kind of the same way. Even this year, I said to my bosses, I said, hey, now that Vikings are over, I know I have like 3 days to roll over. Can I take them? And he was like, you have 12 to roll over? So yes. So I'm like, okay, bye. So I went to St. Thomas. I had never been there before. I didn't mind my little pit stop in Puerto Rico because I had never been there before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I have a good college friend that's from Puerto Rico, so it was just a little stop, but it was so beautiful. And the weather, except for one day, it rained in the morning, but I was like, give me the sun. Trust me, all the people out there for sunscreen. Yes, I came out pale. I'm a Q-tip, so I slather myself in sunscreen, but I still got some sun. And I slow rolled every morning. Getting back to work yesterday was hard. I'm like, yeah, man. I got to work.
Yeah. Well, I love Puerto Rico. My wife and I vacationed there. I love St. Thomas. We've been there. We went to the Bahamas. Actually took a cruise that went to the Bahamas. First time in Nassau. The areas of Nassau we saw, we loved. We also saw a report that like 16 people had just been murdered. So we didn't see the bad sections. But
what? I didn't hear that.
And you know what? Every place has its tough areas,
Hiccups.
it's gangs, it's tough problems.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, so I don't want to overreact to that any more than people overreact to any crime they see coming out of Minneapolis. I live in Minneapolis and I've been here for 10 years. I've never seen a crime committed. So there's always that dichotomy between, you know, what can pop as a news story and what life is actually like for people who live in a normal neighborhood. But short story, God, it was great. It was absolutely great. I love the Caribbean, and I'm glad we're both back, though. We got a lot to talk about. First of all, introduce your guests for the day, and then we'll talk some local sports.
Oh, I'm really excited too. I know Ron Johnson very well. If you guys watch Vikings Game Day Live, former Gopher, former NFL wide receiver, he is on the show, but that's not the only caveat. I wanted to do this interview with also his wife because I'm about empowering women. And let me tell you, Ron will be the first one to say she is the more decorated athlete. Shani Johnson, if you might have known her back in her college days, Shani Marks, Olympian, triple jump champion, 2-time USA indoor track and field champ for triple jump, 2-time USA outdoor champ. I mean, she is amazing. So I have them both on. And also they have 2 young daughters that they are helping, of course, navigate the world, but in sports, just to see how Ron has changed as a dad, and then talk to Shani, who's also coaching now in high school. I just like the power couple, and more than just what you see in the headlines, I'm taking you behind the headlines. So that's kind of cool.
That's great stuff. And you've done such a great job of bringing us fantastic guests.
Thank you.
And some of them have been women athletes, some have been women entrepreneurs or, media figures. You've had great national guests on like Mike Tirico and Jim Cott. We've had Chad Greenway, Brian Robinson. We've had Laura Oakman. We've had Andre Yak, Katie Storm. Just a great list. And Ron and his wife, and Shani Marks, a great athlete. Great addition to the list. Thank you for doing that. Now let's get to some local sports. By the way, we're sponsored by Rudy Luther Toyota. We appreciate the way they support us and, more importantly, women's sports in general. Also, I want to thank a couple of our network-wide most important sponsors, TSR Injury Law, 612-TSR-TIME, and Twill in the Dining Galleria, my favorite men's clothing store, a great place for either you or buying your loved one something. I highly recommend that store. Also want to let you know that this Saturday, February 3rd, 7 p.m., the John Krasinski Show will be live at Head Flyer Brewing. Our guest, Chris Finch. Chris Finch, great, just a really great nice thing for him to do, to come out. And, NBA coaches don't go out and do local podcasts. It doesn't happen. Chris Finch is down to earth enough to be willing to come out and spend time with us. Really looking forward to that show. Now let's talk about the Wolves. It had been a very difficult up and down month, but they were kind of still hanging on that number one seed. They go to Oklahoma City, tough place to play, excellent team, excellently coached team. They win going away. They finally play a good fourth quarter. And then Anthony Edwards goes off on the refs. It's such a catch-22, Dawn. It's like, I agree. Karl Anthony Towns does not get his share of calls. Now Anthony Edwards is not getting his share of calls. And it puts these athletes in a very difficult situation. If you don't complain about it, you're accepting the status quo and accepting you don't get calls that can change a game. If you complain about it, things might get even worse.
You're absolutely right. But I love the fact he said something, because a guy like Ant is the guy that, all right, so now the refs might be mad, right? And retaliate. You might not get any calls, but he's so talented enough to rise above that. But you look at that replay, and the fact that the NBA doubled down on that and saying that it was minimal contact, or whatever their exact word was. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, oh, and I'm not a local sports apologist, but I'm like, come on. But he wasn't getting calls. And the fact that he said something, and then he said it on the bench, right? And we can say it on this podcast. I couldn't say it on air last night, but cheating ass refs. That's what he said. The camera saw his lips say it. And then the fact that with Leah B. Olson, who we have had on the show, he doubled down and said, I'm going to take the fine. I don't know how. And then he moved on. He didn't go on and just trash them constantly, but he made his point. And we all know, Jim, we've seen it for the past few years. I mean, there's the superstars that get the calls no matter what. And then there's the people that don't. And, traveling doesn't even exist in the NBA anymore. We see those sensational buckets because of it sometimes. But I don't know. I was happy he said something. But it will be interesting to see what happens tonight versus Dallas. Do all the refs get together and be like, okay, this guy's mouthing off? I'm interested to see what fine he does get, because he is going to be fined, especially when the NBA came back and said, yeah, no, we made the right call. So it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. I would say that arguing for your fair share of calls is absolutely within the right of an athlete or a coach. And at some point, if you're not getting those calls, you might as well take the chance and push that button. I would just say, if I were advising Anthony Edwards, I'd say, argue for the call, argue the specific calls, send the specific calls to the league. Don't go down the road of pretending there's some kind of a conspiracy. Because even if it's true, it's not true. But even if it were true, it won't do you any good. There's a difference between saying you messed up, which all of us can be accused of at times, and you are dirty. And there's a gap between those two. I'm not sure he should take that step.
That's true. And we all know it was in the heat of the moment, which is why we in media, we love to talk to the athletes right after, because that's their pure emotion. And so the fact that this kid doesn't lie to his detriment, he might be honest, but it was, for me, it was refreshing. But yes, afterwards, I'd be like, okay, you've said your piece. Now let your play dictate how you are on the court. And he's talented enough to do it. So maybe this will motivate him to take it to even higher level.
Maybe. And I just hope, because I hardly ever, Brandon knows this, I hardly ever blame officials, refs, umps for outcomes of games. I think it's not the way to go. It's too easy. In this case, though, I'm sick of seeing Anthony Edwards dunk and get his forearm yanked and not get a call, or Karl Anthony Towns earlier this month get his arm pulled away from his body as he was trying to shoot a very important shot. I'm tired of it. And
then the hacker-Rudy that's been going on.
Yeah, I just don't think that rule. I think hacking, like the hacker-Rudy, the hacker whomever rule, that should be an intentional foul. You should get 2 shots and the ball. That strategy should not be rewarded.
Amen. Amen.
Right. Let's talk about some women's sports here in a second. We do want to thank Rudy Luther Toyota.
Ready for a women-forward car dealership? Rudy Luther Toyota empowers their many women on staff in sales, management, and service. Whether you are looking for a new Toyota or pre-owned vehicle, Rudy Luther Toyota has something for everyone. Every vehicle comes with a Luther Advantage. 10 cents off fuel and car wash discounts at holiday stations, Luther Advantage warranty, and 5-day return policy on pre-owned vehicles. Located just 5 minutes west of downtown Minneapolis, off 394 and General Mills Boulevard. And they're also hiring. Want to join the team but don't know where to start? Visit rudyluthertoyota.com today.
All right, so terrible news for the Gopher women's basketball team. Mara Braun injures her foot. She's probably out for the year. And I have such high expectations for her. I kept on waiting for her to really break through. And then she gets hurt. And then I go look at the numbers, and she's one of the leading scorers, one of the best shooters in the Big Ten as a sophomore. She was having a very good season. She plays hard on defense. She's unselfish. She's a great defensive communicator. So, I expect even more from her. But objectively, she was having a very good season. She is their team's best player. And her going down really damages their chances. Maybe Sanders comes into the starting lineup and makes up for some of what she was doing. It's just a shame, though, because I think the way Dawn coaches and with the age of so many of her best players, that this second half of the season was going to be really instrumental for them, not only in trying to have a good season, but also setting up for future success. And Mara's injury just damages all of that.
It does. And, I wonder what the effect of that, because she's going to have surgery, from what I understand, on that foot and out indefinitely are never 2 words that you want to see together at all. But when you have a new coach and a team that's young and still finding their footing, no pun intended, that could have an emotional impact on the team. And you're going into tonight, even though you're hosting and you're at home, which will help, you're hosting Penn State, one of the hottest teams right now in the Big Ten. They have 5 straight wins. Ashley Owusu, I think I say her name right. She's been on fire. They've been 5-0 since she's been playing. It's just like this perfect storm for things to unravel. And so I am really curious to see how Amaya Battle, Mallory Heyer, Sophia Hart, just how they respond without having Mara on the court. So it's like the worst timing ever. I just hope they can rise above. I mean, sometimes other stars shine when they have to. So it'll be a true testimony to how Dawn can coach up these girls, women. Yes.
And
women.
Sanders has come on strong lately, and she is an active player who can get to the rim. It's not that anything good is going to come of Mara's injury, but maybe for the long run, other people having to play larger roles could end up helping them. Let's do our Minnesota Aurora Minute. Yeah. Minnesota Aurora, a community-owned, women-led, pre-professional soccer team playing in the USLW League. We have had Nicole Lukic on as a guest before. Andre Yak, one of the founders, has been on the show before. I just want to remind you, Minnesota Aurora FC sporting director and head coach Nicole Lukic, recognized as a Minneapolis St. Paul Business Journal 40 under 40 honoree. Outstanding. She deserves it. A great human as well as a great coach. Also, Minnesota Aurora FC welcomes Colette Montgomery and Mandy. And I hate to take a chance on her last name. I'm going to give it a shot here. Polka Bradsky to their coaching staff for the 2024 season. We're getting close to spring sports, summer sports starting up, or at least being a big subject of conversation. I always look forward to covering the Aurora. These are classy people, and it's a very entertaining style. So congratulations to them. Anything to add about the Aurora, Dawn?
Yeah, and I believe season tickets are going on sale as of today.
Cool.
And today is, I think it's Wednesday. When you're back from vacation, you're like, what day is it? January 55th. That's what we're at right now. long week for me, but I believe that the tickets go on sale. And I know Nicole has been counting down the days. So if you follow her on social media, Nicole will give you the exact amount of days until the season starts. So it's kind of amazing. And, I'm just thrilled at this 40 under 40 for Nicole, because it's almost like you were saying with Maura Braun, right? People are like, okay, I love Minnesota Aurora. They're so good. But when you look and say she has not had a regular season loss since they started this team. That's impressive. And I know when we had Nicole on, she's like, yeah, but I was mad about the tie and mad that we didn't win the championship games. That's what you want to hear from a coach. But when you look at just what she's done, and also at the social impact level, and how she's already made a mark starting as head coach, now she's sporting director and just doing amazing things. She's earned it for sure.
No doubt about it. We'll be doing the Chin Music Show on Friday with Roy and Lavelle. We did a really good show with Roy and Joe Mauer's on Joe Mauer's induction last week. Which interests you more, Mauer going to the Hall or the trade they just made?
Oh, okay. It's kind of like a past and present for me. I can enjoy both of them. And I was of the rare ilk. Many people didn't think so. He's not going to get in on the first try. It's Cooper's down. And I'm like, I think he's gonna. Again, the numbers don't lie. Say what you will, the numbers don't lie. And I'm so excited for him. It couldn't happen to a nicer man, family, person. And I was just so thrilled. But to see the trade too, as much as I love Jorge, I kind of think the Twins got an awesome deal. So I'm really happy with what Falvey has done. And get some arms in here. Let's see what we can do. The infielders now, there's kind of a log jam. But I think now that they've got that extra cash too, it'll be interesting to see who else they get. They're not done. So that kind of gets me revving for the season at hand, and just so excited for Joe Mauer. So it's it was a win-win for me.
Yeah, I really thought Joe would get in, and I liked the deal. I know a lot of Twins fans hate it because they didn't get that star pitcher, and they got cash back, and Twins fans are just triggered by any cash considerations when it comes to the poll ads and the Twins. I just think the big picture here is if Buxton, Correa, Royce Lewis are healthy and have kind of close to what you would normally expect of them offensively, this is going to be a really good team. And the bullpen might be the best. They have a chance of having the best bullpen the Twins have ever had.
Yeah, because you don't want to tweak too much what you did last year, right? It's a very delicate balance. So I liked the trade. I may be in the minority, but I liked it.
Yeah, I'm in the minority, and I did like it as well. I wrote about it in the Star Tribune, of course. All right, any final thoughts before we get to Ron and his wife?
Yeah, I actually have two. So back to girls basketball really quick. Last night, I want to give a shout out. Like we said, today is Wednesday, January 55th. Tori Orline from Crosby, Ironton scored her 3,000th point. She's a sophomore. She's the first sophomore in the history of Minnesota girls high school basketball to do that. And she's not going to be alone, because Maddie Greenway was not far behind. Now, Tori entered just needing 1 point, so she got a layup, and then she already got the record, and I forget what she ended up with. Maddie entered yesterday's game with only needing 72. So she's going to do that in the next couple of games. When I went on air last night, I was trying to find out how many points did Maddie Greenway get so that I can do the math so we can be on Maddie watch now, so she'll join her as only the second sophomore. To have two sophomores score 3,000 points is just incredible and unheard of until this year. And I even texted Chad and said, hey, how many points? This was right after the game. Did Maddie get? And he goes, I think 35. So I'm not sure. And, so we'll double check on that. But Maddie Greenway will be the next to follow. So, Providence Academy Also has Adrian Peterson's daughter, Allie, on it. Girls basketball for high school in the state has always been great. And I love it continuing. Here are the new stars. And yes, we've all heard about Maddie Greenway, but Tori Orline getting her due last night. And I was just so happy for her. And I want to touch briefly, Jim, you're going to roll your eyes because you know that after the first initial Taylor Swift thing where I was like, this is a publicity stunt. I am not for it. But the whole rest of the season, we've just kind of seen their relationship or whatever blossom. I am for it. And I read something, and I don't know if this is the exact number, but Taylor Swift has earned $330 million for the NFL this year by her showing up and being in there. So a friend of mine posted on Facebook, it was when Jason Kelce kind of did his shirt, jumping out of the window kind of thing, which I loved. I thought it was hilarious. I love how he said, I didn't ask my wife for permission. I just gave her a heads up. I like that too. That's a healthy relationship right there. What I liked though, my friends were saying, and of course it's tongue in cheek, stop showing Jason Kelce. It's a distraction. What he's doing has nothing to do with the actual game. And she goes on and on. She goes, does that sound familiar? And I was like, yes, bingo, right? Bingo. Like, let people enjoy life. Let people enjoy life. So I'm all for it. It'll be interesting now. I think Today's show or somebody did, can Taylor Swift make it from her concert in time? And with the time difference, and if she hops right on her jet, she might be able to make it to the Super Bowl. So I'm enjoying the sideshow because it's legit. You don't fake those feelings. Whether this relationship turns into a marriage or lasts, I don't really care. But I'm just enjoying it. It's no different if I lived in the time of Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe, right? I mean, this story of athlete and famous person is as old as time. So let's just enjoy this version of it. Don't be so sour.
There's
not you personally.
Not me.
Jim.
No, I know, but and there are a lot of tentacles to this, including the idea that Taylor Swift is some kind of a psyop operation. Listen, just talk to the people in your life, and those who think that Taylor Swift is like an agent. You can just distance yourself slowly from them. Just move slowly away and lose their phone number. You don't have to deal with them anymore.
I love these people that think it's a psyop, and then you realize, like, on some big clusters that the world and the country have to figure out, you can't. You're like, so do you really think that it's just like the movies, like she's some psyop and out to do this? It does make you laugh.
It either makes you laugh or cry or both. It does elicit a range of emotions. But here's the thing. Taylor Swift is the closest we have to the Beatles right now. She's the closest mega crossover musical superstar we have. She is great for the league. She obviously hasn't held the Chiefs back, despite another thing she got accused of earlier this season. Right. She's a good human being. She pays her dancers and the people who work on her. She pays them an incredible amount of money. She treats people well. She's a superstar. And so is Travis Kelce and his brother are both going to be first ballot Hall of Famers. So take whatever shots you want, man. Their lives are better than yours. And,
I think Colin Cowherd, sometimes, I don't agree with everything he says, but he had a good rant on it about, well, how come a woman can just hurt your fragile ego so easily,
And you know what? That's one of those times when the question is also the answer.
Yes. And he said one of the TV networks added up how much time she was on air, and it was something like an average of 24 seconds in the game. 24 seconds in the entire game if you added all the cutaways. So 24 seconds, he said, for those of you who say it's a distraction, you're lying, because there's so many other distractions that go on during an NFL game, plus the commercials for Super Bowl. I mean, people aren't just there for football. That's why there's so many replays and cutaways and commercials. And so just, I think it's just Taylor Swift herself that's such a lightning rod, which I don't understand. For me, I just said, just don't fake it. Like, put a Kardashian in there, cheering on the box, and then she's just there to make a name or whatever. But we see that they're actually dating. The family, she loves the family. just let it be. I feel like a Beatles
she's
song
great.
is coming on.
Yeah, well, she's great, and she scares people who are afraid of strong women. It's that simple.
Yep.
All right.
So
Well,
that's the end of my rant. There you go.
Now we're going to transition to a strong woman who is married to Ron Johnson. I'm really glad that Dawn set up this interview. Really looking forward to it. Hey, thanks to everyone who listens. We do appreciate it. Check out all the other shows at talknorth.com. Come see it at Head Flyer Brewing on Saturday night. Thanks again to Rudy Luther Toyota. And here's another great interview from Dawn.
I am so happy this week to have this Minnesota power couple, and that's what I call them, because if you've heard of Shani Johnson and Ron Johnson, both in the Minnesota, the M Club Hall of Fame, and athletes in their own right, let alone married and raising two unbelievable female athletes on their own, I want to welcome Ron and Shani to the podcast. You guys, thanks for joining us. This is amazing. I don't know when you sleep because you guys are always going. You're either working, you've got your girls, but thanks for taking the time to come on.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Hey, Ron, you and I know each other really well from doing all the shows together, but I actually met Shani first. So we're going to go way back to when you were in college, Shani. And I think it was right before your Olympic trials. And you had back surgery. And then you came back from that, if I'm recalling it correctly. And then you were going to do the Olympic trials. So way back then is when I first met you. I think I was brand new to Minnesota. You could not have been lovelier. Look like a model going around the track, doing your triple jumps and your long jumps. But does that seem like so long ago for you? It seems like yesterday for me.
What are you talking about? College was just just a few years ago. No, it feels like a different lifetime for sure.
How is it? I know everyone probably comes out of the gate and asking you, what is it like to represent your country at the Olympics? What was that for you?
It was, well, yes, I get that question a lot. And actually, the story leading up to get there that's actually the great part of the story, because that's what makes it worth it, right? Like if everybody just got to be there, it wouldn't be special. But for the Olympics, you're fighting and you're persevering and you are getting through adversity for years before people see you on any sort of big stage. And that's where the meaning comes from, right? Is the work that it takes to get there.
Exactly.
And so once I was there, the hard work is, most of it's done at that point. So it really is, you're sitting in that joy and that gratefulness. Just pure gratitude for the opportunity to represent your country on that sort of stage. So, and that's where I found myself that just a few years ago. It's just being grateful to be able to get that kind of experience and opportunity.
And being such a great track athlete, whether you're indoor and outdoor, what made you, and I'm just saying this just from looking at all of the things that you've done, what made you want to maybe especially do triple jump, which is probably the hardest? I did long jump in high school, that kind of stuff, high jump, long jump, triple jump. I could not wrap my feet around, and I was a dancer. You have to be coordinated. Was it just something that you loved, or what made you go that route?
Well, actually, funny story. In high school, I did long jump and like the 100, 200, 400. And I never did triple jump. I don't even know if it was something that was really on my radar, but I remember wanting to try everything. Like I remember with my coaches, like I wanted to try all of these events. I wanted to do all the things. And they were like, no, we just need you in these events and get us all the points. We can't do all the events. And so when I went to college, actually, it wasn't until, like you said, I had that back surgery. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't my idea. It was my coach's. It's something that my coach saw in me that was kind of off my radar. So I was about 2 years off of my back surgery that I had in high school. And I think he could just see it just from the plyos that everybody on the team would do kind of the same plyos and jumping kind of general strength power exercises. And he was like, why don't we try triple jump? And I was like, sure, because I love trying new things. I still do. But it wasn't something that was like on my heart to try. It was something that he saw. So.
Wow. And it just came natural, or how long did it take, do you think, before you're like, oh yeah, I really like this?
It did come natural because I actually was a gymnast before I was a track athlete. And so the coordination thing kind of came naturally. And it kind of flowed naturally from just the general plyometrics that we did as a team. I loved it right away. Super fun. But it is a weird event if you're not used to seeing it or doing it. It's hard to catch on to. Just even teaching the rhythm of it to athletes can be a challenge sometimes. But it came natural to me and I loved it right away.
Oh, that is amazing. Now, Ron, I have not forgotten about you. And I think the world of you. But every time I talk to Shani, I always think he outkicked his coverage. Just amazing. When you hear her tell these stories, Ron, I can't even see you right now, but I can just feel that you just like beam with pride. How is this for you? And I also want to know the story about how you two got together to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear her talk about it, I was there for most of the back stuff right out of college. Competing by herself, working out by herself, having to go to, random places to be able to, compete just to try to qualify for the Olympics. And so it is a long process. I know in college, it was a little bit different with how she trained because you had a structured situation, you had a structured group of coaches, you had a structured workout, whereas once you leave college you're on your own. So I kind of saw her ability to dedicate her time to getting her work done. I definitely was not that person. I need structure, I needed coaches, and I think that was just the big difference of watching that. Of like I'm not a person that if I have to wake up at 6 a.m. by myself, go work out. So it's just a difference, and also probably why we got along and stayed married as kids. Even we were just always on different schedules. Like I didn't mind being up at 2-3 a.m. with the kid when she needed to sleep, and to this day I'm still up late for no reason sometimes. But we just always found a way to make it work with the abilities of each other. And so I saw that in her early, just her work ethic, her willingness. And so now I see it carry over to our kids, where sometimes they'll have her work ethic and then sometimes they'll have mine. And, it's just a natural blend.
It's called
but
balance, right?
It definitely was, I think I appreciate it more now than I did then, probably, of like the accomplishment itself, just going to the Olympics, doing it. Less than 1%, less than 0.0001% of the world gets to do that. Right. And so for her to be able to do that and, represent her country, it was cool. And then, having Tony Dungy, call it out to the team before I left to go to China, little stuff like that. Like social media now is a thing. It wasn't then. And so seeing other players now where it's like one out of every probably 100,000 players gets to talk about, their wife or girlfriend going to the Olympics. And so it's cool to kind of see that kind of come full circle where now I'm a part of the world that gets to talk about it, where not everybody does.
Yeah. And for many of these people that listen to this podcast, they're not even from Minnesota. So I want to give your background too there, Ron. Ron also at the University of Minnesota, huge standout wide receiver, drafted 4th round, 123rd overall. I love saying that, by the Ravens in 2002. And I have to mention your dad too, because I know just how proud of your dad that you are, Ron Johnson Sr., defensive back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 2 Super Bowl rings. Just amazing pedigree on your side too, Ron. I know I tease you and say you've outkicked your coverage, but I know you as a person and a professional on TV, but just the pedigree and the athleticism that you have yourself is something to be commended, playing for the Ravens, the Bears, Redskins, and then you even played arena ball, which I loved arena football too. So you had mentioned, China, you mentioned other things. When you have such an accomplished athletic background for yourself, and you had a dad who played in the NFL, I see many athletes that have their fathers, especially on the men, that they lead the way and they either feel like they can't live up to them and they have a really hard relationship with their dad, or they're just so enamored and thank you so much for leading this way that they have the relationship that you had with your dad. How was that for you growing up? And was football just a love, or is it just something like, hey, this is something I knew and it was just the rightful path for me?
I think it was something like my dad never actually wanted me to play football. So he was my
Really?
baseball coach. Yeah, he never coached me in football ever. Like, didn't do drills, and not, I think it was more so because he was my baseball coach. So we spent like every day throwing and catching, and we spent, endless hours. Now that I coach my daughter, I see how much time it actually was. Like at the time, you didn't understand the time because you're a kid. And so you don't see what it takes to be the head coach of a youth, sports team. And then it's free. You're doing it for just your time. You're not getting paid to coach. Because as a kid, that's one thing, we didn't know. We assumed dads and parents out there were getting paid.
Right.
And now you realize it's just donating time. Like you put a ton of time into it and not just your kid, other kids. For him, it was, he was driving all the kids around in vans and buses. And like we actually took a bus to Ohio. And I mean, this is the inner city of Detroit. So parents, like now we go to trips with our daughter and all the families go, all the parents go. Like when we went, I remember, I think we had like 2 chaperones that were other coaches, and my dad did it all by himself and, had to get hotel rooms and had to, make sure 12 little boys are paying attention in a hotel, which I couldn't imagine that now. Because we just did a trip with my daughter that's 11. And I'm like, I could not imagine trying to keep up with 12, 11-year-old girls. And so my dad did it with boys and, little stuff like that. I think our relationship was always built on just time. But at the time, I didn't understand it. I just did it, and it was what it was. And I think that's maybe why it's in me now. I just naturally do it, and I don't question it. I just think it's what God asks us to do, is to spend time. Money is going to be there, and stuff's going to be there, and then it goes away. But time is something that you can always say you had, and you did, and you can remember it. And so I think that was it. Like me and my dad we definitely had our tough times of arguments because, I thought I knew more than him when I got older in high school and college.
Don't we all? We always think we all know more than our parents at one point, right?
But after that, as I got older, then I started appreciating it because I started understanding the relationship with, Mel Blount and Tony Dungy and Donnie Shell and, Franco Harris and Mean Joe Green and all those guys when they came back to his funeral. And so I never understood how important or impactful that was when I think about like me and my teammates and who would come to my funeral, and that's what I always thought about when I saw my dad's teammates come, that even though he was not going to probably be a Hall of Famer, he still won 2 Super Bowls. He still was a 1st-round draft pick. But they, as a teammate, they respected him enough to, come to Detroit out of their busy schedules. And I still talk to some of those guys now and text back and forth and so on and so forth. But for me, that was my relationship with my dad. It was sports, but it was never football. It was basketball. It was the baseball. He never coached me in football. And I don't know if that was on purpose because he didn't want people to feel like he's the reason I'm doing it or he's pushing me to do it. He actually did coach football, which is even funnier. He coached the older kids. He never coached me. So if I was 10, he would coach the 12-year-olds. When I was 12, he coached the 14-year-olds. And I think it was also we all practiced at the same field. So he was there with me and he knew where I was and I knew where he was. But I don't think he ever wanted people to feel like my son's playing because I'm the coach.
Right.
And so I never, like in basketball, football, other than baseball, because it's like you can hit, you can catch. And I played catcher. Not a lot of kids want to play catcher. So I don't think he ever cared about that because he's like, everybody gets to bat. So if my son can hit, he can hit. If he can't, he can't. If he can play second base, he can, But football and basketball can definitely be impacted by a parent putting their kid in the game more. And so he didn't ever want that to be something. And so, yeah. And then in high school, same thing. I played receiver. He coached the defensive backs. Like he always was around. He loved to donate his time, but he just never wanted to physically say, I'm the reason he's doing it. He never said that out loud, but as I'm older now, I can see that. But he made sure he was there. He never wasn't like, I can't think of a game he wasn't at. I can't think of a sporting event he wasn't at. And it just feels different now as a father now being here in this moment. I can see the difference. And not say my mom wasn't there, but she just wasn't as sportsy, into it as my dad was. And so it was just, it's always been cool, even when I went to the Ravens. So yeah, I think that was our relationship growing up athletically. I definitely got it all from both my parents. My mom was a cheerleader in college on scholarship. She reminds us that all the time.
Yes, she does.
So Shani laughed.
But yeah, she was a scholarship cheerleader that could do backflips off of walls, and she was super athletic. So she reminds us that we get it from both of them. And I think our kids are going to end up being the same way. They both, they have genetically two parents and grandparents that, have a lot of stuff they can put into them mentally and physically. So yeah, it's been a fun ride.
Well, if you had to pick one of your favorite moments in the NFL, what would it be?
I don't know. I mean, I'd say, of course, the first game I ever played in, I scored a touchdown.
First game?
First game. Yeah, first game of the year.
Welcome to the NFL. Wow.
So that was a fun experience. Got it challenged. So first, first experience with the challenge flag and how that worked. It went our way, though. But I'll never forget John Fox was the coach of the Panthers, and I was looking and he threw the flag, and I had never actually experienced it. And then I had to sit there, couldn't celebrate. And then eventually they said it was a touchdown, which kind of took the thrill away from it, but still was a touchdown. So that was one. I think the other one was playing the Steelers because it was my dad's team. I grew up as a Steelers fan. So traveling to Pittsburgh for the first time, my dad was there. He flew down and he sat on the Steelers side. So I think that was just who he was. He was going to be true to himself. He said he would never celebrate Baltimore or the Colts besides me if they're playing the Steelers. But yeah, he definitely sat on the Steelers side, wore a Steelers jacket with his teammates. But it was fun to, go to Pittsburgh. I was born there. Or not born there. I grew up there. My sister was born there, but just being in Pittsburgh was a good memory. I don't even remember if we won or lost the game. But I do know going there and playing, had a good game, but yeah, I don't even remember if we won that game or not. But I remember that was a big memory too. Just the first time going back, I guess you want to call it going back home.
Yeah.
To play.
Shani, how did you guys meet?
Well, both of us would probably tell different versions of this
That's
story.
why I went to you first.
I'll tell the parts that at least we both agree on.
Okay.
So I actually met him the very first day I moved into the dorms freshman year. So he had already been on campus with the football team. And I just remember walking through the hallways with a friend, and I walked by his room, and I'll never forget, he had the door open. He was sitting on a chair or stool playing a video game. And I remember him trying to get my attention, and I just kept walking. Are you going to agree with that? Yeah, exactly. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And then I kept walking, went about my day. And then later that night, we ended up in the same kind of, all the athletes were pretty much friends. And so we ended up in the same group of people at Buffalo Wild Wings, I think. And we became friends right away. We were friends all through college, same friend group. And then we didn't start dating until a couple months before Ron graduated. So 3.5 years later.
Oh, wow. What made you guys decide, all right, let's date then?
That's a good question too. No, we actually, our senior year, one of the fraternities on campus was hosting this formal gala dance, and our big group of friends had been planning on going, just all as a group. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, people started pairing off. I don't know what happened. It's kind of one of those things where all of a sudden, him and I were going together. Yep. Right. Organic. And so anyways, I just remember him picking me up. He had rented a limo, and he came in with a suit on. And I was like, okay, I see you. And we went to this dance, and we had the best time. We danced all night. We had so much fun. And, from there forward, that was it, right? Like, we were together from there on out. It happened very slowly but quickly.
I was going to say, Ron, when did you know? Like, she's it.
When I walked by his room freshman year. You can see his face right now, Dawn.
He's like, I'm glad there's no video.
Eyebrows. Yep, that's what he looks like right now. Go ahead. You want to tell your version? Go ahead.
What's your version?
To the people.
I'd say like when we were friends at one point, I think I met her, like her sister and her dad or something. And then her dad asked me, like, I don't know, I can't remember what he asked me, but I had never actually thought about like actually trying to, because I didn't really have a girlfriend. Like I definitely wasn't like looking for a girlfriend. And then her dad asked me a question, and then I started kind of thinking about it then. So I don't know, that would have been like my junior year maybe.
Yeah, right. It was way
like
before
my sophomore, junior year. Definitely was not for that. That's when I like seriously kind of thought about it. And then like my senior year though, like I was gonna actually leave school early, and I just kind of told her that. And then after that, then I started like figuring out like, okay, we can hang out more. And then she actually did like hang out at like homecoming, but because my mom asked, are we dating then? And I was like, nope, we're not. And then we were. So
we weren't, and then we were.
Yeah. Moms know beforehand. That's why she asked.
Yeah, they do. That's true.
How cool is it now? So you're married. You've got two beautiful daughters who are becoming unbelievable athletes. You guys are, like I said, a power couple here in Minnesota, but you're both in the Hall of Fame as Gophers. How cool is that?
Well, it's very exciting. Although, I was there a little bit before Ron. I had to wait for him to join me.
Little bragging rights, chuck that up.
But he finally got there. It is a really cool thing for us both to be in there. It was really, the sweetest part of it, though, was being able to be there, I think, with our daughters,
yes.
to your point, and to be able to celebrate that with them. And while, we don't, at the end of the day, like we don't care if our girls end up, living up to maybe the accomplishments that we did.
Right.
Like that's unimportant to us. We love that they love sports, and we love that life. It's totally for us. But it is important for them to see how you work towards whatever goal it is that you have, whether it's athletics or something else, academic or in the arts or whatever it is. It's good for them to see and to hear about the work that was put in to get to where we are now, because that's important for whatever they choose to do, that they are willing to put in the work.
I was going to say, Shani, for you must be so proud to see your daughters and how the world has changed from when you were younger and started getting into athletics and how far it's come.
Oh, yes. So many more opportunities. I think girls in sport are seen and celebrated so much more now than they were back then, and supported, I would say.
Right.
And we still have a ways to go, but it feels like the sky's the limit for them, for sure. And
as a mom, right? Love that, right?
Yes, of course. We're here for it, for sure.
Ron, as a girl dad, what have you learned in these, not even the years now of them being athletes, but just in general? How's that changed you being a girl dad?
I think just more like compassion, like trying to learn that, like, I don't know. I think boys are just, they're seen differently growing up for reasons that I see now in the world. And so just having girls, it's shown me a different light of just everything. I kind of pay attention to a lot more now. I realize like my youngest, every time she sees me, she wants a hug. My oldest one doesn't, so just seeing the differences in them now as age takes over and gets older, and, emotions, but just learning that they're both like physically, mentally strong, but also it's important to like understand they're delicate and how they can be crushed with words or, actions. And so just trying to always, I guess, do what's right for them without spoiling them too much.
Right.
I think that's a hard balance because you don't want to say no, but then you have to.
Right.
So I think that's it. Where, I mean, honestly, like boys, I feel like you can beat boys up. You can, like you just hear coaches, how they talk to boys versus girls. I think there's some girls that can handle it. Some girls can't. Some boys that can handle it. But most boys are taught to handle it.
Right.
And I think that's the difference in like even how the media portrays sports with kids. So that's why with me and them, I think they've changed me. Like they've made me a little bit softer, a little bit more open to like letting them ask me questions and responding. Because I know it comes from a place of just general, like, I don't know the answer to this versus like, I think if I would have boys, I'd probably be a little bit more like, dude, are you kidding me right now? And, with girls, I just, I've learned like they're just trying to figure it out and learn. And so I think it's made me a little bit more compassionate. But I know it's definitely like overall, though, it's made me look at just everything I do now, too, of like, how are my kids affected by this or how are girls in sports affected by this? And so I put a lot of time and energy into that, too, trying to find equity in women's sports, trying to find equity in the participation in women's sports. And so, so I have a lot of conversations around that too. Chad Greenway is the same way, as 4 daughters. So he and I talk a lot about women's sports and what's next and how can we grow this or how can we change this or what needs to be done here. So they've definitely changed just my broader look on life.
I love hearing that because I fully believe, I'm like, wait till some of these powerhouse men have daughters. I can't wait to see it. And it's happening. Like I've seen it happen with Chad. I've seen it happen with you. Shani, you must be just smiling when you see him kind of grow in that capacity too, along with your daughter. So that's it's awesome. It's the voice, Ron, it's the voices like you that we need more to power forward.
Appreciate it.
Well, before I let you go, Shani, are you coaching right now, or are you? What are you doing?
I am. I am. So I'm coaching. I coach like high school athletes, some middle school, but high school, kind of smaller groups, about 10 kids for each event group, and I do that on Sunday afternoons, like in the 4 or 5 months leading up to the high school track season, out of the indoor track at the University of Minnesota. So my old stomping grounds.
Awesome.
So I do that for just athletes in the Twin Cities area. And then I coach at the high school that I work at as well. I'm the head coach at Southwest Christian High School in
That's
Chaska.
Great.
So that starts up here. And before we know it, it already feels like spring weather today here in Minnesota.
I know.
So
I know. I feel like we should be out running.
Yes. It's time for track season.
Well, I'm glad you're coaching the next generation of athletes. That's awesome. And Ron, I just want to give you a plug too. Everyone knows that you're on Fox9 with me, but you've also been on K-Fan for years, and you're Locked On Sports. The Ron Johnson Show, I have to say, is amazing. So I'm just so happy the two of you are still contributing in the sports scene, raising awesome, badass women. I love it. And I have to tell you, I think you're probably the best looking couple in Minnesota. So if there's, if that's anything like added on top, I think, you guys can be like the models. We should do like fashion shows, and you two can just go out first. Like we'll just trade you guys out first, and then the rest of us will come up behind you in jeans and everything. But no, you're amazing people, beautiful on the inside as well as out, and just the athletic prowess is just a bonus on top of that in my book. So thank you so much for coming on and opening up to us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Dawn.
No, you guys are the best. We'll have to have you on too next time when Ron's going to his daughters going, are you kidding me right now?
Right, exactly.
Because that will happen, Ron. You think you're not,
yes,
then you get older, like, really? Are you kidding me with that right now? That's what my dad said to me. All right, thank you guys so much. Appreciate you.